All right. Mic check, mic check. More the Masters podcast. I was made of course. Across me, I got a special guest, Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner, Mr. Kendrick. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me here today.
Nah, thank you for giving me your time, man. First question I really got, I'm going to start from your story to kind of go backwards, but I know people going to know, like, what have you been doing? Where have you been?
So for the last couple of years, I have been trying to continue to do good work for this community. Since the last election, just because I wasn't successful didn't mean there was good work that still needed to be done. Mm-hmm. Still continue to work in the tax commissioner's office, as you mentioned, as chief deputy. But there's still lots of opportunity for us to do things. No matter the position you have in the community, there's always opportunities to do good work. So my major focus has always been on youth development. And so I have actually now 5 programs that I run as it relates to youth and their development, and been working really hard on making sure that we can provide opportunities for students in this area, especially young men, so that they can find a way to plan their lives, their careers, their future. And so, for instance, my Project Impact program, which we've done for about 7 years, we continue to meet with that program, but we expanded that program now. So Project Impact used to be a program just for boys. Now it's a program for girls as well.
Okay.
We meet with those kids twice a month on Saturdays, and we take them through any number of leadership and community development activities and projects. And we're just spending our time trying to make the community better. And there's no shortage of opportunities for people to do that. They just have to decide that's what they want to do.
You mentioned them, so I kind of want to go through a few of them while you got to talk about it. So
Sure.
You got Project Impact. What about Youth Leadership Augusta?
So I have actually 2 programs named Youth Leadership. The Youth Leadership Augusta program was a program I started about 20 years ago that concentrated on juniors and seniors in the area and put them through a community youth development and leadership program. It allowed them to go through program days that helps them to understand what they can do to help our community successful, learn leadership skills, learn about their leadership styles. We take kids from all over the area, no matter the school. We don't make grades the most important things when we're choosing youth leaders, because we know sometimes the people with the best grades don't end up sometimes being the best leaders.
Right.
But what we look at is that student and their potential and their ability that they have to be leaders in their community. Besides that program, the new Hub Youth Leadership Academy is a program we put together. We've got 50 students that we allowed into that program starting this year. Started actually last month in June. We had our first retreat. And in that program, we're going to do significantly more than we did in our first youth leadership program, in that now we're going to do a year-long program that has a second year that's going to be workforce development as well. So not only are we going to teach these kids about youth development, leadership in the community in the first year, in our second year, we're going to do youth development in a workforce fashion. And so a lot of times the employers that I work with, the people that I work with in the economic development sphere, I do a lot of work there as well, tell us that when the students come out of school, although they're hungry, sometimes they don't have everything they need. So what we're going to do is to put a component together so that that student who graduates from high school, who may not be going to a 4-year college because that's not their choice, but we still want them to get the very best opportunities for the very best jobs. So that means we've got to put some things in place for them. And so we're working a lot on that and making sure we build this community with the people who live here right now.
Okay. And you got Boys and Girls Club of Greater Augusta.
Yeah, so I've been with the Boys and Girls Club for about 20 years. I've chaired that board twice. I've been involved with them and the 5,000 to 6,000 kids we serve.
And that's all of them. That's not just one location, right?
That's right. So our Boys and Girls Club locally is the Greater Augusta Boys and Girls Club. As a part of that organization, as a part of that board, I've been a consultant for them. I've been chair of the board, but I remain involved in that they serve 5,000 to 6,000 kids each year in after-school programs, in summer programs, doing enrichment. We align with the school system so that we're able to pace our students and help them with their homework after school, even though sometimes their parents can't. The Boys and Girls Club has one of the biggest organizations. They provide meals and dinner at Boys and Girls Club. They bus kids every day. It's just important. I hear people talk all the time about them wanting to do something. Everybody claims they want to be involved, and yet when the opportunity is there, they don't always find their way. So for me, continue to be involved, continue to build the future. I want our city to grow, and unless these kids have viable jobs and choose to stay here in Augusta, it's not going to grow, and that's hampering our ability right now. Augusta's not a growing city. We're a stagnant city, and because we are, is part of the reason is because we can't get the very best kids to actually stay here. Part of that comes from us making them better opportunities for them here.
And I got some questions I want to ask what you just said, but also I think the latest one, and I know because I know somebody I work for too, Elevate. That's new though. That's something new.
Elevate is
so
one
kind
of
speak to that, what it is, and even from the working standpoint, because you got I think like three either ex-teacher or something like that work for them, because right now they're in Denver, right? Like,
right.
Some training.
That's right.
So speak up to that program, what that's about.
So Elevate USA is a national program based out of Denver, Colorado. We, 2 years ago, created an Augusta affiliate. It is a program that uses teacher mentors, that's 3 of them, in a classroom to work with students that are going through their normal high school track. We are in one school right now in Richmond County, and that's Richmond Academy. We have 3 classes each day in which students go through and they learn those types of soft skills that they don't get in biology and they don't get in math. They learn about ethics. They learn about citizenship. They learn about communication. They learn about leadership. Our schools don't have time to teach those types of things in their regular coursework. So in a program like Elevate, we provide those opportunities for students in a classroom. We provide activities after school. We have an Elevate house that we were able to purchase to allow students who are in our program to go there after school, to go there on weekends, but to provide another opportunity for teens to figure out just where their pathway in life is. So Elevate is led by a dynamic young lady named Aaliyah Brigham. She's our executive director. And after that, we have 3 teacher mentors that actually work in that program each and every day, teaching those kids and actually working with them all summer as well. We're a 24-hour-a-day program. We work all summer. Our teacher mentors work that way because they teach in the classroom during the day, but they don't turn off at 3 o'clock like most teachers. They continue their work with the students lots of times late into the evening to make sure they get the full complement of attention and services from our program. Elevate is a really dynamic program, and we're looking to expand that program as we continue to fundraise and see if we can raise enough money. We want to expand it and do it in other schools in Richmond County.
Yeah, that was my next question, but I do think that program is really good, just knowing people that are actually a part of the program. I've seen it this summer, and I've seen like some of the wonders it did, even having some sports people, come in there and play and also be a part of the program. I think that was dope. So I'm going to kind of go backwards also. I got you kind of comfortable. I feel like you're comfortable now, so I could kind of ask some more questions. But I wanted to start with just you. So talk about like where you from, born and raised. Are you from Augusta, Georgia? Are you from somewhere else?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Augusta, Georgia. When I was born, my parents lived in East Augusta, lived in what was called Augusta Homes at that time. And so for my first most formative years, my parents lived in East Augusta. Soon after that, my father, who owned a business and started a business in the early 70s, moved our family to the Hill. And so I then attended Richmond County schools, going to Forest Hills, Abraham Mary, Tut, and then I graduated from Westside in 1986. When I left Westside, I went to college at Florida A&M on an academic scholarship. I then graduated magna cum laude from Florida A&M. Then I went on to graduate school. I graduated from Florida A&M's graduate school with an MBA. Once I left there, I moved to Kansas City, Missouri, and worked for Hallmark Cards in corporate America, and worked in their marketing department, their career development department, and in the manufacturing area in management. Left that and went into pharmaceutical sales so I could move back to Augusta to be a part of my family's business.
Real quick. So what? Because you said a lot. Like, so go back. Like the schools. What was your degrees in these schools?
So at Florida A&M, I majored in business with a minor in finance.
So go back. So West Side, after West Side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to Florida A&M. What was the choice? Why you went there? Like, what were you doing in high school that made you want to go there?
So that's interesting. Florida A&M reached out to me. I became one of their scholars based on SAT scores. Their
You were smart.
business school. Well, I mean, I did pretty well in school.
What was your SAT score?
Now you got to make me remember.
It was high if they reached out to you.
It was high. It was high enough. I don't remember. But so when I was in elementary school, I was one of the first African American students in the gifted program in Richmond County, and so I was identified as a gifted student when I was in the 4th grade and got to go to the gifted program. And so they pulled us out of class and put us in a class, and I was the only African American student in the gifted program that I knew of. I then met one other young lady countywide. There were only 2 of us when I was in that program in the 70s.
The whole county?
Whole county.
Just 2?
It was 2.
One black girl and then you?
Deidre Williams and myself.
Okay. Shout out to Deidre.
And it's interesting how people did then. You know, you're riding the bus going on a trip with everybody else. And so all the other kids, they're innocent. They see us. They see Deidre, the young black lady. They see me, the young black kid. And they say, well, that must be your girlfriend because you two happen to be the only 2 black kids. We were the only 2 black kids. It was like that for some time. I was in the gifted program until I got to 9th grade. But like everybody else, I enjoyed the gifted program, but it wasn't necessarily fun for me, so I pulled out of the gifted program. My parents didn't know it, but when I got to 9th grade and got to high school, I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to do other things, so I got out of the gifted program and went through a normal high school experience. I went to West Side. West Side at that time was a predominantly white school.
It still is.
It's still not quite.
Maybe not today, but it's been like that for a while.
I went there. My wife went there. All my kids went there as well.
But you said it wasn't the program wasn't fun for you. Why wasn't it fun?
Well, a lot of times when you get taken out of class and separated from the population at large, you sometimes find that people see you as different. So here I was, a student who was thought of as gifted, and yet I was being separated from the rest of the students. And at that time, when you're impressionable, you're in 7th grade, you're in 8th grade, you're doing your best to fit in to someone. I wasn't necessarily athletic. I wasn't necessarily super good looking, but I wanted to fit in with everybody else as well. I was just an average dude.
Why you say you wasn't good looking?
You call it like you see it. You know, if I think back to high school, in elementary school, when I used to see Beverly Lowe and I used to see Tina Akery and I see those young ladies, I wasn't somebody who they were super interested in. I didn't want to get separated and be more strange. I wanted to be with everybody else. I couldn't run that fast, but I was pretty smart. But you know, at that time, and we probably still had this problem with kids, being smart wasn't something that people necessarily thought was a good thing. And so for me, it was easier for me to try to blend in with everybody else. And so my grades in high school, while I had the aptitude to do better, were mediocre to good. But when you took an SAT and it tests your ability, it was able still to identify me as someone who potentially could be on scholarship. And so therefore, when I finished, I was contacted by several schools as it relates to coming to their schools on an academic scholarship. And I remember telling my parents that I wanted to go to the University of Georgia because I went to West Side, and that's where everybody was going, the University of Georgia. And my parents looked and saw the few schools that were giving scholarships, and they helped me make that decision because we were a normal family. And they said, so you mean this one's going to give you the money, that one you want to go to, this one seems like a better opportunity for you. We went to visit that school, and visiting that HBCU made a huge difference. And I've been so committed to trying to help students get to those schools to see them, because that was the difference between me going to a school like Florida A&M and going to a school like Georgia. When I actually stepped on that campus for that summer program and was able to see other kids that came from other places who were bright, who were coming to school to get an education and figuring out in my school, I was one of the brighter people. You get to college, you're one of many
Yeah,
who are
yeah,
doing
yeah.
well. So all of a sudden, I saw a new challenge there. And so going to that school, seeing that here I could compete and try to do better, made me end up choosing Florida A&M over some of the other schools who offered me scholarships. I looked at Howard, I looked at Xavier, but fam, you seemed to be the right school because they had a top-notch business school. And my father had been in business, in his own business, since around 1972. And so,
I do got a few questions about some of the stuff you're saying too. One, first, describe West Side back then. I know you said it was predominantly white, but like besides that, or even deeper into that, describe West Side back then. And obviously, because we know it differently, we know it to be different today.
sure.
But describe it back then. And this is what, 86 you said?
86 was I graduated in 86, so I went to West Side. They didn't have middle schools then. I went to a junior high first, so I went there in 10th grade.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again?
10th grade. I went there in 10th grade.
How'd that work?
There was no middle schools. There were junior high schools. So I went to Tut junior high in 8th and 9th, and I only went to West Side in 10th grade.
So this is 80, in the 80s, it was like 1st through 5th.
1st through 7th in elementary school, 8th and 9th in junior high schools, and high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
So we were the last class at Tut Junior High. Langford was a junior high. Tubman was a junior high. A.R. Johnson was a junior high. All of those were junior high schools. We then went to those junior highs, and then I went to West Side in the 10th grade. Wanted to play basketball, made the junior varsity basketball team, but it was a different experience there.
You had said earlier you wasn't athletic. So why you want to play basketball?
I wasn't athletic, but I could shoot.
Oh, you could shoot. Okay.
I could shoot.
Gotcha.
So you don't have to be athletic to shoot.
That's true.
And so I went to West Side, and it was much like my school experience had been all along. Living on the hill at that time, it was predominantly white. And so I went to a school at that time was probably about 70-30% white. It caused no real issues as it relates to race. However, you always knew that you were different. We always learned, and it was always a way for people to point that out. But that was never really a big thing for me because I did well in school, so I had classes that were diverse. I got along well with others, and my experience there taught me that I could thrive whether I went to a University of Georgia or Florida A&M. I think Florida A&M was the right choice for me because it gave me a different type of experience. I had never gone to school with that many brilliant African Americans. There were always people who were smart in my class, but I didn't get to experience that. And I think that experience is important for a lot of students to see. It certainly was for me at that time in the mid-'80s.
What about your parents? I don't want to skip over that.
Sure.
What about your parents and the relationship you had with them? Because it seemed like, you was smart at a young age, but you probably went through I'm just saying picking for lack of better words, but picking because you're smart. That's they'll be doing in the community sometimes. Like you smart, nerd, or whatever the case may be, right? But you got your dad, your mom in the household. How did that help you throughout your journey in school?
My parents were both bright, but my father had not finished college. My father started a business in 1972, ran that business successfully till his death earlier this year for 50 plus years. And yet he had not finished college, but he was probably one of the brightest men I knew. He was
that
from
the Augusta Blueprint?
Augusta Blueprint.
Gotcha.
He is from Hancock County, Georgia, moved to Augusta when he was 18 years old, worked in several jobs before he got the entrepreneurial spirit and started that business. One of my biggest mentors in my life was watching someone who can thrive, not just because you've got an education, a formal education, but because you learn to make the best of what you do have. My mother, who's from Augusta, she was one of 13. She grew up in Harrisburg. She was the youngest of 13. She's still living today. She's 86 years old and still living. She finished college when I was in high school. And I remember working with my mother doing algebra together, her going to school at Payne, me going to high school doing the same type of work. They were determined to show that there was nothing that can stop you if you wanted to achieve. So she went on, finished school, ended up becoming a educator. Then she went on and worked at Payne College as the director of alumni affairs, and she retired once. She went back, she retired again. But both of them were great role models. You know, I never had parents that ever told me I was bright. Never did. They never told me I was going to college. They never told me that I needed to do anything. They just modeled the behavior that said, here's what needs to happen for you. And so I think I was very fortunate to have the types of parents that I did who laid a framework and a groundwork for me and my sister to achieve and do well. And frankly, at 57 years old today, I still believe that is what motivates me most. I still am someone who wants to make my parents proud at 57 years old.
Yeah. Well, definitely clap it up for your mom real quick. That was definitely admirable for retired twice and finish school. But so with FAMU, right? Did that help or at all like change your view of like being gifted and black?
Good question.
I try.
It probably made me know that black excellence was so available to us in this community. Going to an HBCU with people from all over the country that had any number of talents allowed me to understand that there was no barrier that should hold me back. And that's not to say that I felt like there were barriers when I was here, but your level of experience in black excellence is not there in high school during my era. There were always bright kids in school, but when you go to calculus on your first day of school and you're in a room with 30 people who are in calculus 1 who all did well enough to get into college to be there, you understand pretty quickly that you are not the star of the show. I remember when I was in the summer program, we went and my parents didn't go to the summer program with me. And I remember sitting in the room and a lot of the kids' parents came with them. And so as they went around the room, everybody was introducing themselves and the parents were with them. And I remember this one young lady, her name is Kim Pitts. And I remember her parents saying, "This is my daughter, Kim Pitts. She goes to Cass Tech in Detroit, and she's number 1 in her class. And her SAT score was something like 1480. And I shrunk down a little bit in my chair. And then it got to the next kid, and I think his name was Wardell Jones. He was from Chicago, Illinois, and he was number 3 in his class. And his SAT score might have been 1360. And I shrunk down a little bit closer in my chair. It made me know right away, you got to do better. So I never forget my first semester. I graduated magna cum laude, but I was always competing with my people there who were graduating summa cum laude as well. And my first semester, I remember when I finished, and my friend's first semester ended with a 3.67, my roommate, and I may end up with a 3.5. And here I was again in there competing with people who were doing the same things I were doing, and they were getting better grades than I was. And it just kept me competitive, kept me fighting, kept me trying to prove that I was just as good and just as smart, because this wasn't like Richmond County schools. All these people were bright. Well, I think that competitiveness not only should happen in that type of school, it needs to happen everywhere. We don't oftentimes get a chance to see that, but it was a very, very big part. FAMU was a very big part of creating who I am. And so much so that I've encouraged others and talked to other students into going to FAMU as well, because it is just that dynamic of a school, although there are lots of great HBCUs you can go to.
Yeah, I hear great things about FAMU. Everybody I know that went there is super smart, by the way. So
FAMU is amazing.
They've got a good system. But so you mentioned after you graduated from FAMU, you went to graduate school. Mm-hmm. And what you majored in there?
So I got my MBA with a concentration in finance. So what began to happen toward the end of my 4 years was, what was I going to do next? And it was quite popular then during my time for people to get out and go to work, FAMU was creating its graduate program, its MBA program. And they offered select few of us the opportunity, if we would stay there and become the foundation for that graduate school, they would pay for that graduate school. So I also took the LSAT because I wanted to go to law school. Myself and a couple of friends of mine all decided we wanted to go to law school. Chuck Lambach, Brian Watkins, myself, DeAndre Thurman, all decided we wanted to go to law school. We all took the LSAT. We all took the GMAT. And basically, everybody went based upon what their scores said. And so my GMAT scores for grad school got me the scholarship from Florida A&M. So I stayed in grad school there and got an MBA versus some of the others went on to law school. Brian Watkins went to law school. Chuck Lambach went to law school. And they did something a little different. So me scoring well enough to get a scholarship again helped me decide. But I really still think I should have went to law school, and I sometimes would go back and wish I had done so. As a matter of fact, I've been on the record, some of the kids that I work with, when they ask me about school, I had a young man in my office the other day, and I told him, in my mind, a young man has two choices when you go to college. You go to law school, or you go get you an accounting degree. Those are two things that people are always going to need. Somebody's going to have to count the money, and somebody's going to have to defend the business. If you had a choice, any young man I talk to, I would suggest they do one of those two. Lots of great careers out there. People can be engineers. They can do all those things. But for me, accountants and lawyers are always going to be the foundation of everything we do. And that's what I suggest all the young men go do.
I like that. I like that idea. So after graduate school, what was next after that?
So I got recruited out of graduate school from several companies, including Hallmark, and got offers from several different companies. Hallmark was the one I took. They put me in a leadership development program called the Career Development Program that allowed me to work in different places in that company. And while I'm there, choose the place that I wanted to go back to once I went through all the areas. So I worked in marketing, I worked in manufacturing, I worked in finance.
Was it like months and months at a time in each
Correct.
thing? Okay.
That's right.
So
So
it was like a real training thing at that point.
Correct.
Okay.
So their career development program, they prided themselves on saying, we'll bring you in, we'll let you experience all of these special places, and whichever one fits you best, you'll go to. So while I was out on my sales rotation for Hallmark, I got bit by the sales bug. And so I was out. I left Kansas City for them and moved to Austin, Texas, and I was working in sales. Little tidbit, a lot of people don't know, there are probably more people in this world who make over $100,000 a year. They are mostly in sales. Somebody sells something for everything you see. And those jobs are great jobs to have. And so I was there, and I started getting recruited by pharmaceutical companies who wanted you to come out and sell pharmaceuticals to physicians.
This is legally and stuff. Right?
That's correct. It was
Just
illegal
making sure.
pharmaceuticals.
You gotta throw it out there, you know.
And so here I was in Austin, Texas, being recruited. And so what I told them was, if you can find me a job in Orlando or Augusta, Georgia, I'll perhaps take the job. They came back and said, we found you a job in Augusta, Georgia, working for a pharmaceutical company. We'll give you a car. We'll give you a computer. My father was still here in business, and we were preparing to start a new business. So I took the pharmaceutical sales job and left Hallmark and moved back to Augusta.
What year was this?
1991.
Times was good, it seemed like. They gave you all that stuff just because you were smart and you knew what you were doing?
Well, sales was a pretty big... Most sales jobs nowadays still do that. Pharmaceutical reps, I took that job in 1991, and I think I made $42,000 a year. Pharmaceutical sales job now starting off probably makes $100,000.
Yeah, times is definitely different.
And they still give you cars. They still give you laptops. You still work remote. You know, this new thing with remote jobs and everything, that was always like that. You always work remote when there's a pharmaceutical sales. You had an office at home. You did your work at home. You went and visited your physicians. You promoted your drugs to them. You gave them samples and you went home. It was a great job. But while I was doing so, my father, who had been in his business for a number of years, decided to start a new business working with the Georgia Lottery. Georgia Lottery was just launching. We were the largest vendor for the Georgia Lottery and by far the largest black vendor for the Georgia Lottery. We printed all the tickets for the Georgia Lottery during this when it was launched in 1991, 92. So we were the largest vendor. We started that business in Atlanta, Georgia. Although we had a base here, we had Atlanta plant facility, and we were the printers of the online rolls that go in the machines for the Georgia Lottery, New Jersey Lottery, Tennessee Lottery, all of them. So my father started that business, and I was vice president of that business for a number
how
of
did the
years.
idea come? Like, how y'all know that was gonna be profitable? Like, what made y'all even think I'm gonna do this?
So when the lottery was created, one of the things, we had a Democratic legislature and a Democratic governor. And one of the things that they guaranteed is that African Americans were going to be a part of the lottery business if they wanted to pass it, because the lottery had to pass by vote first. And so one of the commitments they made was to make opportunities for African Americans to be a part of that business. When it was time, we bid to become the lottery printer. And so we took on a partner and we became the lottery printer by proving that we had the experience as printers because we were already in a printing business, and proving that we could run and manage a much larger printing concern. And so we started that business and became a lottery vendor, and were a lottery vendor for about 12 years until it became too cost prohibitive to continue to produce that product the way we were doing it, because it became harder and harder to produce that product for them. And so we did that for about 12 years.
Not to go back too far, but I just want to make sure I make the connection. You mentioned y'all had a printing business. So the Augusta Blueprint, can you explain what that was? 'Cause I'm not aware of it.
Sure. So Augusta Blueprint is still in business. My father passed, but I've inherited that business. I've worked at a business my whole life. It is a reprographics and printing firm, and so we reproduce things. We reproduce plans and prints for engineers and architects, but we are mostly a short-run printer. We print business cards and letterhead and banners and display banners. We print posters. Anything that you put on paper, we can print it. Been doing that for 50 years. We don't really promote the business. It has been successful for about 50 years. We're going to start to promote it now that I've taken over and working with it. But
just quickly, if somebody that's watching right now is thinking about it's a black business, they want to kind of go to, who would they get in contact with to even, get in contact with y'all about doing any kind of printing work?
Absolutely. So Augusta Blueprint is at 512 Reynolds Street. You would contact Joyce McCaster, who is there. That number is 706-722-6488. We print club flyers. We print banners, as I mentioned, almost anything. We print specialty invitations. We restore photos. You know how you look in the drawer and you find your grandmother's photo. It's got water spots on it. We can scan those, fix those, print you out new ones. Do quite a bit of printing for churches. We do quite a bit of printing for all the funerals. Anytime, if you've been to a funeral in Augusta, Georgia, you work with Augusta Blueprint, because almost 90% of the funeral programs you get there, we designed and printed it. We are the leading edge of those. And so a lot of weddings, invitations, and things we do. We print a lot of program books for conventions and conferences. Work very closely with the school system, have done it for a number of years. We print a lot for the school system, do a lot for hospitals, but have been a successful black business for almost 6 decades, and will continue to do so in this community, serving this community. It's interesting, when you're a small black business, for a long time, we're the place where people go when they know they need help. Oftentimes when people come to us, they can't afford the tickets they want to buy. When their loved one died, they can't afford the program. When they need a donation, here's where they come. It has been Augusta Blueprint. It has been my family. It's been me personally. When people need things in this community, somebody has to help. I've always been fortunate. My family has done well. We've always given back, but I've never taken that lightly. They say heavy is the crown. And so what I do is try to make sure that you provide opportunities for others. And sometimes that means when somebody comes to our office and they say, I need this done, but we can't afford to get it done, we just have always been there to help. And so we'll never be rich, because we'll always give it away before. And I used to tell my mother and father that all the time. It's because we always end up giving, but our blessings come from that giving. And so I've never been in a place where I'm desperate to need something, because just when I need it, it always kind of gets delivered. And I think that's because we're always looking to give to others as well. And so I'm not claiming for anybody to come down and ask for some free printing. But if you need some help sometimes, there's a plenty of nonprofits around this community that can tell you when they needed something, we were there for them.
Okay, so talk about, all right, so, y'all got the business, y'all got the lottery business and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So what do you do from there? I'm trying to get up until when you started to do the tax commissioner, but it seemed like you've done so much before then as well.
So while I was working there, I left the pharmaceutical business and went to work for my father full time to help him with the lottery business. We did that for a number of years, to the late 2000s, but the political bug was always there. My father has always been a prominent businessman, very involved in the community. And so, again, as my role model, I saw a lot of that. But I aspired to try to do more. When you have someone that has cast a shadow that large, you sometimes want to get out from under that shadow. He had never been in politics, and so I decided I wanted to get into politics. And so my first time deciding to run for office came while I was working there for him back in 2007, when I decided to run for mayor at a time when it wasn't very likely that I could be. But that didn't stop me from deciding I was going to take that opportunity. And it was that opportunity that taught me about how this community works, how divided it is sometimes, how people profit off of that division, because it's easier for a lot of folks to see us separated than it is to see us unified. But it was through that experience that I was able to witness that there was other ways that I could help and give and use the skills I had. And so soon after that, the tax commissioner at that time, Jerry Saul, resigned. And when he resigned, they looked to put in an interim who served, but they also looked to try to find somebody they want to place right in his position as well. And so I did what was unconventional, what nobody thought would happen. I threw my name in the hat to be the tax commissioner. And I had lots of people ask me, why would you want to do that? Who wants to be the tax commissioner? Nobody likes a tax commissioner. All they do is collect taxes. Well, a lot of people didn't understand what the tax commissioner did because they didn't know. And so their impression of what the tax commissioner's office was something that I felt I could change. So I took an office that had low morale, that people didn't respect, that had poor facilities, and over the next decade turned it into the very best city office that existed. People go to the tax commissioner's office and the tag offices now. A lot of people don't know that it used to be a problem, that when you went there, there were long lines, that when you went there, the people were rude. When you went there, you didn't get great customer service. It's because they've become accustomed to what we deliver now. Right, and what that is coming out of family business, you understand what's important. And what's important is when that person leaves, their experience needs to be something that they can go tell somebody something positive about. So what we created was an atmosphere empowering people to give to the community from government what they never usually got, which is something that was great, and it's still to this day.
So what year did you take over?
So I went into the tax commission. I was elected there in 2008. January 2009 was my first day in office.
Okay.
And so I was there from January 2009 for 15 years, running that office and making and setting a vision for that office. I believe.
I got a question though.
Sure.
Because you said something earlier. You was like, everybody asks you who wants to be a tax commissioner. Yeah. Everybody know what it is, right? I got a question. What is the tax commissioner? Like, what do y'all do? So it sounds fancy.
No, it's interesting. So the fact of the matter is, the tax commissioner's office, we bill, collect, account for, and then distribute all the taxes that are collected on behalf of the Richmond County Board of Education and our county government. Somebody has to bill you for your tag and your property taxes. Somebody has to collect those money. That's still us. Somebody has to account for that money internally to make sure we collected everything that we bill for. And then we take that very same money and distribute it to county government and distribute it to the school board. That is done through a number of different levels, from the clerks who are at the front, line who actually meet with people, talk with people, take those payments both there and in our back when we collect the mail, to the people internally who actually have to create those bills for them to do, to the people who are actually back there with the fancy computers accounting for it, making sure we get every dime in the right place, and of course, the distribution of it as well. The tax commissioner is an elected position. He's elected by the people, so he can be removed by the people if it's something that they don't like, but he's responsible for, right now, those 52 people doing that job effectively. They also work with the tax assessor, which is a part of the tax system as well, but they are actually appointed by county government, and they value your homes. It is your tax commissioner who, when you go in the tag office, you need to make sure you get a tag, you get a title. It is under the tax commissioner that is done. And the reason it's done that way is because tax commissioners collect on behalf of the state as well. Tags are state issued, not county issued. And so because of that, tax commissioners are constitutional officers, which means their job was created by the state of Georgia. So tax commissioners don't work for county government and the commissioners like other people do. They are peers of those because their jobs are defined by the Georgia Constitution that says you need to collect this on behalf of this state, and you by chance can collect for your local government as well and distribute all those monies that way.
So you mentioned something that I guess for me and with my age, like I think I got my first car in '08. So I do remember going to the tax office. It was behind Baker America at the time, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't where it's at now.
On
Peach Orchard.
On Peach Orchard Road, yeah.
Yeah, in Lumpkin Road. And it was horrible because the line was outside the door.
Horrible.
It was hot. It wasn't smelling that well. But over time it changed. But you said you got into '09. So this was '08.
January 1st, '09 is when that started to change. If you went in '08 and you stood in that line, so I was shocked by the same thing. You go there and you see this and you say, wait a minute, we're government. And when people come here, they're standing outside in line. The people aren't well trained. And so in 4 or 5 years, that had all changed. We had a new facility. We had drive-through windows. You can go in a drive-through. At one point, we were actually the only tax commissioner's office in the state that had a space on Fort Gordon as well, on a federal campus. We created that as well. When people go to government, they expect to get what they pay for. Mm-hmm. And for me, we are the face of government for a lot of people. If you don't collect trash, you get trash collected, and you go to the tax commissioner and the tag office, for a lot of people, that is government. Because a lot of people don't interact with the court system.
Yeah.
And so how do you interact with government? You pay your water bill, you pay your taxes, and you get your trash picked up. We were one of those faces of government. And what I said to my folks is, you have to be a face representative of what they paid for. So we trained them well, we paid them well, and we made sure they treated you well. So when you went back to the tag office on Rozier Road and Peach Orchard Road, now you go in, you can drive in. Now when you go in, you don't have to wait.
Yeah, it's in and out. In and out.
At all.
Yeah, every time I'm in and out now. Yeah. Ain't no service in there, but that's my own thing. But I don't need it because I'll be in there for 5 minutes. So.
And that was purposeful because I think that all of our government can be like that. But all of our people have to understand how you do that. I'm not one for tooting my own horn, but that just didn't happen by chance. That happened because I saw a problem and decided there's a way to fix that. There's a way to deliver to people exactly what they paid for. And so after a while, though, it becomes almost routine. You don't think of that as very much anymore because it's your experience there. The problem is the rest of government hadn't caught up with that. The rest of your government doesn't do that. Your trash service isn't like that right now.
Not at
all. Your utility service isn't necessarily like that right now. When you call some of these other services, it's not like that right now. It's because everybody's not as intentional. I think we all can be that intentional. I think Augusta's government can deliver that type of service to everybody. Hoping to get a chance to do that.
But you said like when you took over, that wasn't the case. So before you took over, what was the perception of going to the tag office or just the tax commissioners in y'all day to day?
It was pretty poor. So I remember my first time when I had just gotten the office, we had a office on down at the old next to the old fairgrounds, and we had a little security guard at the front door who didn't know I was the new tax commissioner, although he was working for me. And I remember how he talked to me when I got to the door, because I just looked like regular old anybody when I came to the door. The tax commissioner's office didn't have well-trained people, and they certainly didn't have efficient systems. And so what would happen is people would get their normal government experience. It would be unfriendly, and people who always pass you off to the next person. It's not my fault. We just couldn't do that. I couldn't deliver that. I'd come from a family business and had been taught that if these people are coming here, you got to deliver a better service. And so that's what we jumped in and do. We still have yearly meetings in which we close our doors and train our people. We still send all our people to be trained in empowerment and customer service and doing all the things they do. Not all government offices do that right now. We still continue to do that. And by the way, we hire very well too. A lot of it is picking the right people to come work here. There's a standard to work here. Everybody can't work here. Some people are made to work here. We concentrated on that, and we do that well. And we continue to do that well. And again, hopefully all of our government can do that well as well.
All right, so I mean, you did that, and you did it successfully, and still have been. But as a tax commissioner, successful for a long time. At what point do you move up to chief?
So as tax commissioner, I left the tax commissioner's role to become chief deputy when I resigned to become mayor, or run for mayor, should I say. So in constitutional officer realm, you have a chief deputy tax commissioner who, if you leave office, he or she becomes the tax commissioner. So when I left office in March of the year of the mayor's race, that left an opening in that job. But the gentleman who I had chosen to be chief deputy automatically becomes that tax commissioner for continuity's sake. Okay. The way the Georgia Constitution was written, they didn't want to have a position where the person who's supposed to collect the taxes for us was left open. So it was my duty to choose someone to take that position when I leave, only to have to compete and be elected the next time. So when I left that position, he became tax commissioner, but then that left his job as chief deputy open. He had been there for 7 or 8 years, but when I left that to run for mayor, he then hired me and said, hey, you sit in my position. I'm the elected official now. You have a campaign to run. You hope to be mayor someday. You sit there, help me do this, help me continue to learn this job as your position. And then when I was unsuccessful, I stayed on with him. Some thought that I would, because I lost that race in May. The election for tax commissioner was in August. Some thought I would leave and say, well, you lost the mayor's race. You just go back and run for tax commissioner. But that was never my goal. I'd done what I thought I could do in the tax commissioner's office. I probably could have won the role of tax commissioner, but Chris Johnson was just as capable of being a tax commissioner as I was. You can't be willing to lead if not willing to follow as well. So I serve at his pleasure now as chief deputy tax commissioner. I do the things that he did to support our office when he was chief deputy and stand ready if something ever incapacitates him or takes him out. I could be put in as tax commissioner, but that's not my goal. I'm sitting there now to serve him and help him run that office, but I aspire for different goals.
I got you. So I kind of want to talk about when you did resign and you kind of started to do your campaign in May, all right? So first, what prompted that wanting to even become a mayor?
So for me, as I mentioned, I think after, at that time, 12 or 13 years in the tax commissioner's office, I had done all that I could do and taken that office to the highest I could take it. You know, there were people who questioned, why would you leave a job that pays more? The mayor's office pays less than the tax commissioner. Why would you leave a job when you have unique authority, unilateral authority? There is no commission. There is nobody to tell you what to do. Why would you leave a job that you could have for the rest of your life? That's not what drives me. What drives me is to make my community better. And an opportunity to take Augusta, which I think is struggling on many fronts, and add what I think I have to bring to the table to that ecosystem was what drove me. So I'll leave a job that pays more. I'll leave a job that I could potentially have had for the rest of my life. I'll leave a job in which I had unilateral authority in order to help my city. I didn't aspire to do anything else.
Just quickly, with you being a tax commissioner for so long, did you have to like actually you have to ever campaign anytime?
I did. So I ran for it the first time. I had 3 other elections afterward, but nobody ran against me as tax commissioner.
Okay, I was going to ask. 'Cause I don't remember ever being like, who should I pick for this? It's always just you was there. Like I said, I never have seen you until today, really. But I seen pictures of you, of course.
Sure.
But I had never seen you. I just knew that name was associated with me spending money. That's how I felt at the time.
That's right.
Didn't even know you was black. So, like I said, I didn't know a lot of stuff at the time. I wasn't into the whole media and all that stuff at the time. This was years ago. So that's how I always attributed your name to. Every time that paper came in the mail that I had to pay my tag, I knew it was time to go every October.
So it's interesting you say that, because a lot of people thought that I should not try to run for mayor, because a lot of people might have that same impression you did. That name associates with something where somebody took something from me necessarily, and they didn't know who it was because I hadn't run a competitive campaign for years. That probably did play a factor for some people's mind who didn't necessarily get my messaging throughout. But it wasn't enough deterrent for me to not determine that I thought I could do better, and I think I can help my city. Augusta, Georgia is this little jewel down here in Georgia, and yet we're struggling as a city. We haven't grown in 30 years. We are a poor city. 24% of the people who live in Augusta live in poverty. The state average in rural Georgia is only 15%. Why? There's something wrong, and somebody needs to go look and help fix that problem. And I think at some point I tried to become a mayor to help assist with that, and hopefully look and try to do that again at some point.
So, and I know what you just said, but like, is that what you ran your campaign on the first time? Like on the stuff you just said, for the numbers, and I know I seen something about homelessness at one point, poverty and things of that nature. But what was the basis of what you ran your campaign on, like, as far as being mayor?
So I think last time I concentrated a lot on my vision for what I wanted to do in the community and my track record as tax commissioner. What I hoped for was for people to recognize that I had been successful in running a government office, done a great job, and that would allow some, and it did for some, help send a message out that I was probably capable of doing more. What I probably didn't do a good enough job of is talking about my message as it relates to economic mobility and helping our city do better, and helping the parts of town that I see are struggling do better. See, I think in Augusta, people always talk about what they're going to do, but nothing ever gets done. And so we continually hear Augusta needs to be like Greenville. Augusta needs to be like these other places. And for 30 years, we've said the same thing, and nothing's ever happened. I've never been in a position to really affect that change. As tax commissioner, I was able to do some good things, but as mayor, you get an opportunity to do much more and affect that change better. I think with the limited opportunity I have, I've been able to do some things that'll help our city, both on the economic development front and helping with our youth development, but an opportunity and a bigger platform would afford me a better opportunity to do more. And I think Augusta really needs that new direction to do more, or we're going to be in trouble.
So I don't know if you have a direct answer for this, but I feel like when I heard about you running for mayor the last time, and the talks I was having with whether it's politicians or people, that to me it was like everybody felt like you were going to win. That was the talk that I was hearing. So when you didn't, were you surprised first and foremost, and then what, besides what you just said, what mishaps do you think maybe you could have changed or done differently to have won, and how much did he win by, voting wise? I don't know all that stuff.
Yeah, them some good questions.
I did vote for you though, so just clap it up for me.
There's some good questions. Okay.
I try.
So your first question was, you're taking me back here.
I try.
Why I didn't win. I think I did not do a good enough job of getting my message across to voters of who I was, what I had done, and what I do for the city. That is a product of a number of different reasons. Some of that's financial. Some of that is me being a politician already. And a lot of times people are suspicious of people who are already in politics. I was running against someone who's an outsider as well. We know that people have a problem sometimes because they view us all the same. It's hard to get people to know I'm different. It's hard to get people to understand. You know, I talk to people who work with me, people who I know every day and known a long time, but they'll say, when I didn't know you, I didn't know you to be the person you are because my first interaction with you was as a politician. Well, when you're running as an outsider, that's different. You don't have a profile. Your profile is whatever you want it to be. My profile was, he's a politician. A lot of times they try to hang other politicians around your neck. So now you become someone, and when it's to someone's advantage, they make you a part of somebody else's crew, even though you may not have a relationship with them. So he's one of them. And that one of them could be a politician that people in the community we already know maybe have a problem with. There's no reason why you should be associated with them, but they find it easy to do that. All of those things factor in, but mostly because I'll just tell you, I just didn't work hard enough. And I accept the blame because you can't blame voters for not knowing enough about who you are. And so my chance this time is I'm going to work at it differently and I'm going to think about it differently. I didn't sleep much then. I'm going to sleep less this time. You asked, did I lose by much? No, I didn't lose by much. In the first election before the runoff, I actually got the most votes. But in a runoff, as often happens, when the runoff, when people have to choose the second time, number one, they don't respond the same way. A lot of people thought because I had the most votes the first time, believe it or not, I had people tell me they thought I had won. And so when it was time for the runoff, they didn't come back because they thought I won the first time. But I didn't. I had the most votes the first time. But I did not win the election at the time that counted, and that's all that matters.
Were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised towards the end because the demonization of my candidacy and everyone that gets involved of it had begun. You can never be surprised. You always know there's no guarantee. I never thought I was a guarantee. I thought that more people probably knew who I was than actually did, but I wasn't surprised at the loss. I was disappointed at the loss. I was disappointed that I did not bring together the right team to help me get that messaging across. I was disappointed that I did not share with enough people how to defend my record. I was disappointed that I didn't spend more time in the places that I didn't do well in. But surprised? No, not because you always knew it was a possibility. You know, that's a tough question for a politician. Were you surprised you lost? Because if you say, yes, I was surprised I lost.
You sound cocky.
Then you say, if you say you don't surprise you lost, that means you didn't think you were going to win. So, you know, but I clearly understand. I believe in what you may have mentioned is the odds-on favorite in the beginning was Kendrick because his notoriety was there, his experience in the community was there, but I just didn't do a good enough job. I'm just going to take it.
I do. I want to say this one thing though, because you did mention something. You were saying that a lot of times when you're not in politics, you don't have a profile. So I think that also plays a role because you don't have nothing to say. Well, you did this and it was bad, or you did this and it was wrong, or you had this idea and it didn't pan out right. It's like you kind of got a clean slate of nothing. You could say, I'm gonna do whatever.
And that's what happened.
And
that's exactly what happened.
And didn't do nothing. So.
And they don't have to do anything. I mean, and you know, and it's so funny, and I can chuckle about it now, but it takes these experiences. And somebody said something to me earlier today. You know, wisdom is a combination of talent and experience. Sometimes it takes experience in something, see. And I had to see that having a profile, while I thought it was good, having no profile can be good as well, because you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
And you can say anything you want to say because there's nobody to challenge that. Yeah. That's tough sometimes. Local politics is tough. And when people already think you're a tax commissioner, I heard some people compare and say, tax commissioner is a taker, a businessman is a giver. Well, I'm a businessman too. I just didn't profile that.
Yeah.
You know, my family's been in business for 60 years. I've been working in a business 60 years. I didn't highlight that as a part of my background. I highlighted that I've been successful in government. I didn't highlight that I do a lot in business. I didn't highlight that I do a lot in community development. I didn't highlight that every Saturday I'm with somebody else's kid rather than my own kids. I didn't highlight those things about my background. You can rest assured I'm gonna highlight it next time.
Next time. Well, like I said, for me, some of the things I do want to ask for, like, because I got some questions that people ask me as well. I want to kind of get to those real quick
Sure.
before I get to my actual question. All right, so the first one is, and I don't know if you can answer this now, I'm just going, are you running for mayor again?
I am.
Okay, well.
Absolutely.
All right, well.
That's not a secret. I've told everybody.
I don't know. People think it's a secret, so I don't know. Like, I don't think it might be to you, but maybe you didn't tell them per se. But I think the idea, like, we think he's setting up to run for mayor.
Well, let's set that record straight today. He is running.
I like that. All right. Well, what do you say to those who say you shouldn't run again?
Shouldn't?
Anybody that say that?
Depends on what they say. It depends on their rationale for me not running. For me, my rationale for running is to help improve this city. We need good leadership. I think we're still devoid of such, and I think I present an opportunity for people to get the right type of leadership at the right time. Certainly, there are going to always be others who say I shouldn't. I look at one of our most beloved politicians in Barack Obama. Nobody gets all the vote. You win 55-45. That means 45% of the people didn't want you. Mm-hmm. I accept that there'll be people who are not interested in my candidacy or won't support it. But that doesn't offend me. That doesn't hurt me. That means my job is to do better to convince them that I am the right candidate. And so someone believing I shouldn't run probably is based on what they know about me. I like to sit down with anybody. I can promise you, if I leave a conversation with most people, they may not necessarily agree me as the right candidate for them, but they can't agree that I shouldn't be a candidate. I think that's a difference. Somebody to say, you're not my candidate, I can accept that. We may not agree on how to do economic development. We may not agree on how to treat housing. We may not agree on whether or not the city has the right number of employees, or whether there should be a charter review, or whether the mayor should have a vote, or whether the mayor should have a veto. We may not agree on those things. But whether I should have a voice in trying to provide leadership for this community, I think I can leave there with them at least deciding you deserve a shot to make that point.
Okay. I do got a question. It's a question on the paper, but also I've seen Jordan Johnson kind of ask the same exact question. I want to say, maybe not to a T, but how does a perfectly structured Augusta look like to you in regards to government?
Ooh, perfectly structured. Well, first of all, I don't think that's possible. Governments aren't designed to be perfect organizations. There's always going to be some dissension and disarray about how governments are structured. I do have an idea of how I think we should be structured. That's not far off of how we're structured now. I don't have the same problem with our government structure as some do in needing absolute power or additional power for the seat. I think it's about collaboration and teamwork, and understanding how to bring people together is a large component. I don't necessarily disagree that some additional authority may be helpful, but some of the discussion about changing the number of commissioners down, increasing the mayor's power where he has a vote, where he has a veto, where he has the administrator, I don't think all of those are necessary. I think a balance of power is better. I think that you take some of the powers of that commission and you give some of those powers to a mayor and you allow those to balance. People aren't looking at, there's examples around the country of how this works. And so if you look at Atlanta's government, for instance, where they have a mayor and a city council in which the mayor has some executive authority and you have a council that has some legislative authority, and they complement one another so that neither one of them are able to make unilateral decisions. Augusta's mayor doesn't have any direct authority. He still has influence and can influence how things come, but he could have more additional direct authority. In my mind, a mayor who aligns better with our current administrator, I'm not opposed to a mayor having more influence on who that administrator is, but with the approval of the commission. So right now, the mayor and others decide who that person should be as the administrator, and once they decide who that person should be, the mayor brings back 3 candidates. Well, perhaps the mayor should be able to bring back 1 candidate as a choice, and with a vote of the commission, that person can be elected or appointed there. If the mayor wants to fire that administrator, he should have the commission be able to veto or approve that firing. Maybe we're not with 6 votes, maybe with 7 votes. But I believe that balance is due. But do I think the mayor needs a veto over commission action? Absolutely not. I think those people were put there in order to represent districts, and the mayor should join with them and advocate and talk with them. But I don't think he should have a veto over those authorities. I think the mayor should probably have more say in how the city's budget is administrated, because that's what I think people expect. But should he have unilateral authority to decide on what the budget is? Absolutely not. It should be a shared responsibility there. Do I think the mayor should have a vote? I don't. I don't think the mayor as an executive should be involved in legislative actions. Why would you want to vote? You're an executive. And so you as an executive help run the day-to-day operations. The commission is a legislative body that sets policy. And so why would you want to vote on those issues when you should help set the agenda for them to vote on? That is, to me, the way that should work.
Before they changed that, wasn't it like when the mayor did vote, it was a tiebreaker, right?
It was under the old system, the mayor would vote only in the event of a tie, but the commissioners may abstain from voting to stop the mayor from getting a chance to break the tie.
Okay.
So there are some who are frustrated by that process. But the fact of the matter is, it happens in state government, it happens in federal government, it happens in local government. But there's an agenda by some in Augusta who want to control what happens. And so because they don't necessarily get things the way they want to change the structure in order to help advance that cause. I don't believe in that. I believe that government could have worked just fine the way it was if you elect the right people. Our problem in the government structure, our problem is the people we elect. We need to elect better people.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good statement, in fact, because I want to ask you, why is South Augusta not developed?
Because nobody really pays attention to South Augusta, and nobody advocates and understands how to do economic development. All the politicians say they want to do it, but not all of them have the experience to do it. And so you're not going to have anyone in our community that served as chair and member of the Downtown Development Authority like I have, who has served as chair and member of the Economic Development Authority like I have, who served and been the chairman emeritus of the Land Bank Authority like I have, and worked in government and run a department. There's nobody with that set of experiences there. So what happens is people in South Augusta sing the same story. We want more restaurants. We want more economic development. We don't want another dollar store. We don't want another.
We got too many dollar stores. It's getting out of hand, honestly. I don't even know which one to shop at anymore, honestly.
But the problem,
there's just so many of them.
But the problem becomes, who has the plan of how to put more economic development together? See, nobody's rolled around the owner of T-Bones about putting the T-Bones down there with me. Nobody's talked to Outback about them coming down there and talked to their regional places about coming down there but me. Nobody understands how to put the funding in place so that we can get that kind of economic development down there but me. When the Kroger moved to Dias Parkway, that didn't happen by chance. That was when I chaired the Economic Development Authority that we got that Kroger there. The first Kroger in Georgia to be built brand new in the last decade comes to Augusta, Georgia. Why? Because we're there. We don't get a Top Golf in Augusta, Georgia, unless I'm at the Economic Development Authority and they decide to come here with what we do. We don't get an Arubas that goes out to Corporate Park and puts $800 million worth of plant infrastructure there to come to Augusta unless I'm there and we do that. Those things don't happen by chance. Those things happen because people have experiences and talent to go together, which brings the wisdom to put them in place. I've been there and done that. In South Augusta, there is a plan and there is an opportunity to get those things done. But it can't just be because we say we want another restaurant. You've got to sit with the people in the community. You have to explain to them why things happen the way they don't and why sometimes they happen and don't happen the way they will. You've got to define the place and you got to figure out a way for government to get involved. So when T-Bones puts a restaurant in South Augusta, everybody knows the government doesn't choose that. T-Bones has to choose that. Well, how do you incentivize T-Bones to be there? You got to know how to do that. And it's just not because government wants it to be there. You got to understand how to put those things in place. I've done that before and can continue to do that and will continue to do that on behalf of the city.
And what you say your degree was in again?
Say it again.
What was your degree in again?
I got an undergraduate degree in business. I've got an MBA with an emphasis in finance.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's why you know how to do all that stuff too. It just makes sense. But also, what's your role as Economic Development Authority?
So I joined the Economic Development Authority about 7 years ago. I was its chair for 3 years. Economic Development Authority is the #1 recruiter of industrial and commercial businesses to this city. The reasons businesses come here and provide jobs for our citizens is because the Economic Development Authority exists. So when I travel to Germany to go and figure out how to bring Arubas to Augusta with the people from the Georgia Department of Economic Development, we were able to sign on the dotted line and bring that company here to bring those jobs to Augusta. The Economic Development Authority's job is to make sure we have those type of opportunities for people here. The average job at that place is over $70,000. Those are the kind of jobs people in our community need.
And this is Arubas, you said?
Arubas.
Okay.
Those are the types of jobs that we need so that people can build homes, buy homes and pay for those homes and grow our city. Because remember, I told you a minute ago, we're not growing. And we're not.
And Arubas is already here, though.
Arubas is here. I went there 5 years ago to Germany with the governor and the people from the Department of Economic Development. I believe the governor was on that trip. We went there, signed Arubas, brought them back. If you go out to Corporate Park, they've spent about $800 million building that plant.
Okay. I'm just not being fun. I don't know what it is. So, explain to me what it is and where it is. I don't even know.
So Corporate Park is off of Mike Paget Highway.
Okay.
It is where Starbucks is. For Augusta, that manufacturing facility. It is where Arubas is. It is where we have 3 or 4 more manufacturing companies coming in there offering those very high-paying jobs that those students that I'm talking about in my programs need when they get out of high school. They're going to graduate from high school, and they need options.
Gotcha.
The options can't just be, I'll need to do a carpenter, which is great, or an electrician, which is great, or even a landscaper, which is great. I need some options for young men to go out there and work and make 70, 80 grand so they can feed their families and live in Augusta as well. Arubas brings those opportunities, and there's many more of them on the plate, but it was under my leadership when I was there that we got that company here.
Just one question on the Arubas thing, and it's kind of like just against it, but is it true that it required 3 minimum year experience, minimum 3 years experience?
To work at Arubas?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. So
I only asked because if it did, I would wonder when somebody graduated high school, how could they go straight to high school then?
So first of all, we've had apprenticeships and we've got people working out at Arubas that have finished high school and haven't finished college at all. But no, they have training programs. They have opportunities to train on the job. Those jobs are manufacturing jobs that you go in and you get when you get there. I am quite certain that there's not a 3-year window of experience working at Arubas to get there.
Okay. I was just curious. Mm-hmm. The next question I have is, what happened to the Regency Mall project?
So we are still out working on. So let me go back. Back in 2021, the owner of Regency Mall decided that he was ready and able to put housing at that site. Great opportunity, hired the engineers, went by the planning commission, got everything approved. But as you know, sometimes in Augusta, everybody's not interested in things happening in that way. There have been any number of impediments to him completing that project, including our very own government misleading people and trying to get them to not invest in that project. So that owner still is seeking out partners and is seeking out projects to put at that facility. He wants to put housing there. He wants to put a charter school behind that space. That charter school is up and running, except it's right now in Hillcrest Baptist. He still wants to put that housing at that space, and yet he runs into problems and looking for partners, because there are those in our government who will say, that's not a good place for you to be. You shouldn't be working with them. That's not good for Augusta. Never is it going to be good for us trying to mislead people into not investing in Augusta. And yet sometimes things in which I am involved in, there are people who find it not to their advantage to be involved in it, or to suggest to people not to be involved in those things. So what do I got to do? I got to go put myself in a position to be able to continue to push that forward. And so that owner, if you called him today, would tell you he's worked feverishly to try to put something there still, and yet there are people who still put roadblocks up in his way locally. But we're still trying.
Well, like, if you or when you get an offer, like what's some things you feel like you would do with that space?
I support his vision of putting the housing there. We've got a housing problem in Augusta. I support that and a commercial venture to hit housing, hotels, all of that at that venture. But you see, we have people, when he talks to them, who will say, why would you put something at Regency Mall? There's nothing there. There's nothing around there. There's better places you can go and put places that you would do much better. They are people who are in this community, in this government, invested in this community, but would lead people not to do there, just to be small, just to stop that project from happening. I still support his original vision of putting housing there. It's the geographic center of this city. It is close to Fort Gordon. It's on a major thoroughfare. It would increase the growth of the area. And yet, there are people who still fight that and fight many other projects that could come to Augusta too. I'll give you this. There was an opportunity for a large organization who had already shown interest in Augusta, who had already proven that they can build major projects in Atlanta, Dallas, Texas, and who were interested in coming to that Regency Mall space. That very same group, after meeting with me and all three facets of their group, met with some in our local government who then told them, if you're working in that project at Regency Mall with the folks you're working with, we'd advise you not to do so. It happens. It continues to happen. I can tell you 5 more projects that's happened for me.
So, I out of curiosity, like, is it more so because of who's involved and not wanting? I'm just using you for example. Let's just say for instance you was involved. Mm-hmm. Is it them not wanting you to have the credit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's absolutely what it is.
But I guess my question would be like, how is that conducive to like the citizens of Augusta? Why we care about, like, I guess some ego, whatever is going on then.
And you shouldn't, but it is an impediment to you getting things done. I could tell you project after project. There's a grocer that we're trying to put somewhere in the downtown area that I can tell you right now, there are people putting roadblocks in because they don't want to see that success. There's a Choice Neighborhoods project. I don't know if you ever heard of Choice Neighborhoods, but Choice Neighborhoods is a project in which you have the people in Allen homes that are actually living on contaminated soil that I helped the city write a grant for. We got the first part of the grant, $500,000, got matching money for it, $1 million to plan and write the second part of the grant. Ready to go. I'm helping lead that effort. That project then, I was asked to step back from the project by those in local government. They were going to take over. Project sits dead still 2 years later. $50 million we could have gotten from the federal government for that project. Sitting dead right now. That's all verifiable. You don't have to check with me. All that information is verifiable. Choice Neighborhoods project is there. You got to check. It's all out there.
I'm going to ask. I got a question. So, as mayor, right, what specific strategies would you employ to counter disinformation and promote transparency?
You know, the disinformation one is tough.
Well, y'all got a meeting every week, right?
Who?
The elected officials, don't they meet every week, like once a week?
Yeah, well,
the
commissioners too. Oh, you mean as mayor?
Yeah, not you just right now. I'm talking about you next year.
I thought you meant now. So, but for me, it's about transparency. You know, I've always wondered why the commission has a meeting every week, but I've always wondered why they don't open up after that and do a press conference for the public and let people ask questions about what just happened.
That'd be nice.
I'm just a transparent type of person, and that probably gets you in trouble sometimes because sometimes it's hard to explain the dynamics of what goes on. It doesn't necessarily look good coming out of the chute. But I think what's always gotten me in trouble is the pragmatic approach of telling people the truth, whether it's good news or bad news. That's never worked really well. I believe that sometimes people want to believe in something, even if that something is something that can't come true. I remember my first campaign, I was at an event, and I remember the other guy running said, you know, we're going to have economic development. And this is 15 years ago. We're going to have a Papa Do's in Augusta, just like Atlanta can have a Papa Do's. And the crowd went, yeah. And it was my turn. And I said, well, it doesn't really work like that. You can't just have a Papa Do's because you say you want a Papa Do's. There's a process for doing that. But that's not what people want to hear. And I guess part of it's me understanding, too, that people want hope. And people want to believe that something can happen. But my pragmatic approach, I'll tell you something that happened in the last mayor's race, simple one got me in trouble, too. We were asked on a forum. Again, it's verifiable. It's out there on the AKA's page. They asked about the mayor's budget. And they said, hey, when you get to the mayor's office, and I'm paraphrasing, are you going to cut the mayor's budget and make sure that there's no excess spending or something? It was something to that effect. Again, it's on the AKA's page, right? Verifiable. And my answer was, I'm not sure yet. Because until you get to the position and understand the dynamics of what was going on there, how can I promise people I'm going to cut something until I've had a chance to analyze and see what's going on? Pragmatic. But others said, oh, of course. Oh, we're going to cut that budget. We're going to cut the budget. We're going to make sure it's cut. I wasn't raised to tell people what they want to hear. I was raised to do what I felt was right. And at that time, that was right. Now, could I finesse that answer better? Probably so. Could I have told something different? But the fact of the matter is, I told at that time what I thought I believed, which is you needed to take a look a little bit better. Well, needless to say, I didn't win. The budget didn't get cut. It actually went up. Who was right in that instance? Maybe I didn't do that right. But I haven't found the approach that allows me to just tell people what they want to hear. I mean, I haven't really figured out how I'm going to deal with that because I just don't know how to tell people what I don't believe is really true.
Right.
I just not built like that. So.
I do got a question that I didn't think about asking. I didn't think about asking. I'm asking now. Like, when you think about the mayor that's in there now in his term and which y'all ran on, you and him, and then how the term ended out. Can you think of any positive from the campaign to anything he's done that's positive? Like maybe something did come through. Like I said I would do this and then I did do that.
Nope.
Yo, y'all gotta relax. All right, well, it's worth it. I don't know if you're not being funny. I know you. I know.
Listen. If I stretch my mind and say we're gonna have short meetings, maybe. I mean, the stuff that matters to people. Economic development, better housing, delivering service, getting your trash service right. I mean, the stuff that matters to people every day. Come on, man. This thing is serious to me, and it frustrates me to know that people are out there suffering because they still have drainage problems and stuff. It just drives me. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. But I can't think of a deliverable that was there.
I want to clap it up for you. You got amazing vocabulary, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Deliverable is a good word to use. But all right, it's worth a question. Something I thought about. I always felt like, because if it's an honest no, it's an honest no. You know what I'm saying? I don't follow too much of that. I
follow it every day.
I kind of figured that.
And I give kudos when kudos are due.
Well, I give you kudos. I'll clap it up for you because you actually thought about the answer before you said no. So I could tell you had, some sort of, thought in your answer. So you say you're running now. What's some things you think you'll do differently now, this time? Like, you mentioned wisdom. I would say that. You mentioned wisdom. I've been thinking about wisdom earlier today for some reason. And I wonder, like, with you, do you feel like you gained wisdom in the last election? Like, you obviously a smart guy, but, smart and wisdom is not always go hand in hand. Sometimes about your losses, you can get wise from that.
No, I just got to work harder. Again, it's not the people's fault. It was my fault. I was not as well known as I thought. I tried to run my own campaign, and I did not do enough to convince people of what I had done well. That's nobody's fault but mine. I can't blame anybody. I don't blame, listen, I hold nothing against people who didn't vote for me. I had a meeting last week. In that meeting, I could probably tell you there were 4 or 5 people there who stood up and said, I didn't vote for you last time. I don't offend easy. As long as it's not malicious, if you had a reason, if you believed in what you were getting there, no problem with that. What I have a problem with is people who are malicious in their approach and they don't try to get to know me is because somebody else's agenda. So if you thought one of the other candidates was a better candidate for what they were offering, that happens. You get another shot at this apple this time. You're going to get another shot. And I'm ready here to prove and work harder to prove that I was the better option the first time. But it's okay. My God didn't say no, son. He said not yet. That's different. Not no, not yet. So I believe in not yet.
Well, I definitely think that, for the masses, I've seen people do want some kind of change. I would ask you this, and this is more so. I don't want to be one-sided, but do you feel like one term is enough to turn anything or turn something around?
I think 100 days is enough for you to make a difference in people's lives. People want to believe in something. A lot of it has to do with people believing and having hope that things are going to be better, a faith. I believe it doesn't take a term. It takes days. You can have people believe in what you're doing just by what you're doing. Our local sheriff has made an impact in 100 days. It didn't take him a term. It took getting out there and making people believe that you tell the truth, that you're going to work just as hard as them, and you're going to be there for them. People believe in you when you will give as much as they will give. The folks who know me can tell you, ain't nobody going to work harder than me. I get to the building first every day now. They had to give me a code to open the municipal building. I got my own entrance to get in the building. I go in, punch in, and go in. I do it on Saturdays. I do it on Sundays. That's how I work. You're not going to outwork me. My first meeting most days is 7 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, that wasn't good enough for me then, but it just means I got to work harder. That's how it works sometimes.
I guess for somebody like you, like, what would you do to put yourself more out there, though? Like, what could you or would you do to get people to? I mean, obviously now you're doing some media stuff as well, but you did something last time too. I don't know exactly around what time, but
I didn't ask for enough help. I didn't ask for enough help. I had run so many people's campaigns successfully, knew the formula. But there's an old saying that the lawyer who's his own lawyer has hired a fool for a lawyer. I couldn't run my own campaign and be the candidate too, but so many people had entrusted me to help run theirs that they felt for me, this is probably what you should do. I shouldn't have done that. What I should have done is I allowed somebody else to help guide me so that I can spend time doing more things like this, doing more things convincing people who I was rather than analyzing the numbers behind about it. I spent a lot of time doing that. I'll do better this time.
If you had to ask me, I just so had a spot there, but what about you, your mindset, and the things you could or would bring to the table as mayor, do you feel like Augusta needs?
I think they need leadership. Leadership. Just that. It happens in families. It happens in churches. It happens in schools. Everybody needs to believe that the person who they've entrusted to provide vision and a blueprint for how you move forward, they can trust them. They just need leadership.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be the person who always has the right answer. But you got to be somebody who's proven that when I go and touch things, they get better. And I've got a track record that does so. I don't care if it's the Boys and Girls Club, Elevate Augusta, My Project Impact, the Richmond County School System, the Chamber of Commerce, you take your pick. If I touch it, it gets better. Not just because of me, but because I look to make sure right people in place, everybody knows what's going on, I'm transparent about my work. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Most leaders aren't. You're not going to find people that works that way. But most things that I choose to do and I work with end up better than they were before. And I don't doubt Augusta, Georgia will be the same way. I don't have but a few things in life that I truly value, earthly things. But one of them is my name and my reputation. My family, Dad had a business, but it wasn't a wealthy business. It was a small business. There's no wealth there, but he left me a name. And the only thing I've got of value that I can leave for my kids today is a name and a legacy that says I tried to do good. That's what I'm gonna do.
So, and then this is just me asking. It's probably more funny than anything, but like when you do run and they ask you a question about the mayor budget again, like what are you gonna say this time?
You are really good.
I try.
Well, I tell you, if they ask that same question, I would probably say, I'm gonna make every attempt to try to do what's best for citizens, and if that includes lowering that budget, I can. But I'm gonna ask people to allow me the opportunity to go in and research it and do the right thing for Augusta every time. I don't think Augusta can cut its way to prosperity. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever has. You can't cut your way to prosperity. We already get one trash pickup now. Look, I looked last week, they stole my blue trash can. I believe the trash people came and got my blue top trash can. I used to have two. I come back from out of town, my blue trash can gone. I believe they took my trash can.
Hey, can we do that though? Like, can we get more trash? You know, I have to put my trash bag in my neighbor trash sometimes. I have to just sneak it in there because
they took my blue one, so I'm gonna go check it out, and I'll check it out for you too. Because I had two. I had the regular one and I had the blue one. I come back home, the blue one's gone because I was getting 2 times the trash in there.
Because they say it's illegal to drive to the projects and dump it in they dumpsters, so I can't do that no more. So
yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that, but I do know you can't cut your way to prosperity in government. We all know the price of everything is going up. You pay more for gas, you pay more for milk, you pay more for bread, cheese, sending your kids to school. Everything in government is going up too. And yet we are cutting services at the same time. That equation is not gonna work for long. At some point, we got to get more businesses here. Those businesses have to pay taxes so that all the burden is not on the homeowner. That's what's happening right now. Homeowners are carrying the burden for this community. We've got to do a better job at that. And so for me, I'm going to look to cut. There are ways you can do it, but you can't cut your way to prosperity. Augusta, Georgia is an African-American-led city politically. It will not die on my watch as a city that could not thrive. I never left anything worse than I had it. It won't be Augusta either.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Y'all got any more questions? Anything? I'm good. This is good. Everything's straight. I'm just making sure.
They wrong over there. I don't know what but he always wrong. I don't know. I don't know if she wrong all the time because I just met her. But that one there, that's the devil.
No, look, but I definitely appreciate you. I'm pretty sure people gonna have more questions, but I do think for the most part you kind of answer a lot of the things, everything. I'm pretty sure they wanted you to answer.
I appreciate it. You had some very insightful questions. I'm not usually caught off guard for a question, but you got me on a couple of them.
Yeah,
That
man, I
was good.
try. This the last one for it's not to get you off guard, but like I do want to know. Like I think one way that he might have been successful last time as well, even though he stopped doing it once he got in office. But like the cookouts and stuff, people like free food and stuff like that too. So that's something you got to think about. Just throwing it out there.
They like sweet potatoes too.
Yeah, I know.
No, you're right. And having worked with the school system quite a bit, and I know that helps. But listen, I told you, I've turned it over to a new team. I'm not setting the path forward this time. I'm gonna let somebody else to set a path forward. I'm going to be a group's candidate. It was candidate led before. There's a candidate committee, and I'm their candidate. I do as they tell me to do. That's how I'm doing it this time.
That's dope. I appreciate that.
This time.
Yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate the time, man. Definitely, this was dope. I'm clap it up for you, man. Shout out to Mr. Kendrick coming through, More Than Masters podcast. This is good. I definitely appreciate you coming through, man. I definitely appreciate it. Wish you much success as well.
Thank you, man. I really didn't know I was coming for duty today. You did not tell me this is what I was going to do today.
It's all good, man.
You told me we were coming over here, and you told me I was going to meet him. But, like I said, I ain't scared of talk.
That was my bad.
I wore my good shirt.
Look, it's okay.